good sir. I would like to buy a sphere of annihilation from you.
Oh, yes. Well, I don't even know what that is. I have not even heard of one. What is it?
Aren't you a magic store?
Well, of course, I've got the occasional potion, and I may have a wand of unlock, but a sphere of annihilation, I am not sure what that is.
And he calls himself a magic store.
No.
Welcome to Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
In this episode, magic items for sale. Sold. Magic stores in your game. Welcome to Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
And we're going to be talking about magic items in your game. Magic stores.
Always a source of friction, I gotta tell you, okay? What happens when you kill a bunch of bandits? You loot their bodies. Anything magic on them? No. What? They don't have any magic swords? Any magic bows?
The leader's got a magical +1 bow.
Oh, well, okay. Mm-hmm. Any magic rings, etc., etc.? Okay, so this is always trying to get your hands on magical items in D&D or Pathfinder games.
Or any RPG.
Or any RPG is always one of those issues, okay? Because everybody always wants a boost. Everybody always wants some kind of a buff, some kind of an advantage over the other fighters. I want a +8 sword of Ogre Decapitation. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, if you can't get them through combat, how do you get them? Well, usually you have to try to find some place to buy them or make them yourselves. Now, make them yourselves is a whole nother issue that we'll talk about later. But now it comes down to magic stores or a place, maybe a local wizard who has some magic items, maybe for sale. And you have to try to role play and try to get hold of those magic items.
Right. So you walk into your local magic store, if there really is a local magic store. In my realm, in my games, magic stores don't exist.
Yeah.
Because if somebody finds a magic item, they're not going to be just letting this thing out in the public for anybody. You know, they're going to keep it themselves, or they're going to take it to some place else and fleece it for a high price.
Yeah, usually magic items, and in reality, we could look at it and say this, usually magic items are very valuable, but they're also legacy items. They're passed down from person to person, they're found, they're treasured. You know, the only way you get rid of them is you die, and you either get killed or you die and you pass them on one way or the other. So, your 2,000 gold piece necklace or bracers
boots of Elvenkind,
or boots of something like that, how common are they? Well, the only way you're going to be able to find them is if you can find a person who's already got them on and either kill that person to get them from them or try to buy them from that person. And so it's always a source of friction in our games, and usually from people who like to metagame, power gamers, who want to achieve a whole bunch of advantages by getting hold of magic items. Oh, I've got a lot of gold now because we took on those bandits. Can I go buy a wand? Or can I get my bow enchanted? That kind of thing. Sure, you can get your bow enchanted. I'll take it down to the enchanting store and they'll be able to enchant it for you. No, it doesn't work like that.
You're in a little village of about 200 people.
Right. You have one kind of inn tavern. You have a blacksmith that shoes horses. Oh, could a blacksmith make armor for me? I seriously doubt that. He's shoeing horses and making hinges right now. Maybe he could make
He's trying to fix the plow.
Yeah, maybe he could make you a crude axe at the most, but that's all you're going to get out of him. That kind of stuff. And everyone always thinks that everybody you encounter is an elven bowsmith who can carve you a +2 elven bow just at the drop of a hat. And it'll take him, it'll take him overnight to do that. And in the morning you wake up, he'll present this bow to you, and you'll be able to go on your way. Sure, okay. Well, that's not even talking about cost, but it's talking about practicality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this practical?
Is it practical? Is there somebody in the local area who can even make this stuff? Well, making things takes time.
Yes, it does.
which I totally disagree with.
Right.
I don't think it should be so easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
No,
it should
no.
it should involve time and effort, and there's a cost there. Maybe the person doesn't have the time. Well, you want me to rush it? Okay, fine. It's going to cost you 3 times the amount.
Yeah.
Than what it normally do.
Now, I remember in a campaign, I had a suit of armor that was large, and I wanted to resize it to fit my character. And even though I had armor skills and blacksmithing skills, you made me take like 3 months to do that. And we had to stop at a tavern or something.
I don't know if it was that long, but
it was a long time.
It took you time.
Yeah, we had to stop
Because if you want adventure.
It was in a monastery. We had to stop at a monastery and stay there over the winter for like 3 or 4 months.
That's right.
Yeah, and you allowed me to. I had to make a bunch of rolls because it was more realistic. I was trying to resize armor for myself, and it was only because I made some decent rolls that I was actually able to make the armor work. But if I had blown it, I'd have ruined the set of armor.
Yeah.
Which in reality you would. If you're trying to resize something and it doesn't quite work out, you could ruin it.
Well, and let's get into the real. Now, I tend to run my RPGs more real world practical. Okay, if you come across a suit of armor and you're 6'6" and it's made for somebody who's 5'9", it's not going to fit you.
Yeah, it may not fit you very well. That's for sure.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be restrictive.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're an elf and you're 5 foot nothing, and you come across a 6 foot piece of chainmail armor. Well, it's going to be big and bulky and weigh you down. It's not going to fit right. You have to adjust it. It doesn't just shrink down. It's not like the One Ring where it's made for Sauron's finger, which is this big, and it slides on a Hobbit's finger, and all of a sudden it shrinks down to size.
Right. Fits over it. So that itself would be like the cost, because we always talk about cost of items and how much they're thousands of gold for various things, and because they're so rare, sometimes they cost even more.
Right.
So what happens is, it's the actual kind of practicality of would you actually have something like that in this area. All right. Now, we had one kind of a running gag, but it used to get Delaney really mad, and that was about a flying carpet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a wizard who wanted a flying carpet.
Yeah, and we had this one character who just would not be quiet about it, and it was actually got to be kind of a sore thumb because of that. And
every game, multiple times a game.
Yeah, and the thing is okay.
Well, can I even just find a magic and carpet that's mastercraft that I can enchant? No, you're in the middle of a medieval society.
Yeah.
Try and find a carpet, in this town of 1,000 people that's masterwork.
I think you'd be more likely to find a magical steed in summon a steed than you would be able to find like a magic carpet.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is because we were traveling, we were doing a lot of traveling. And this person just wanted to have a magic carpet to fly by. It's like, no, the practicality of it, sure, you could probably make something like that work, but it is the DM's choice. Delaney was the DM.
Right.
Okay? And so Delaney's choice was, no, we can't do that. If you want something that, that's that magical, you're either going to have to find some kind of legacy item, take a year of your life and make it yourself, or do something extraordinary to where you find something like that. But it's going to be almost impossible to find.
We've talked about that in other episodes about taking time. If you ever watch the show Forged in Fire, these guys, take a week to maybe make a decent sword or axe or whatever.
And sometimes they're not good.
That's if they make it even into the finals.
Yeah, and sometimes they're not good. Sometimes they're spectacular failures.
If you're a master smith, even you have chances of failure. It's like the guy who makes the Viking sword out of the meteor. It takes him weeks of doing that.
That's tons of work.
Sword.
Tons of work.
Yeah.
The thing is you just can't stop by any blacksmith shop and demand that they make you a sword.
Or weaponsmith or whoever.
Yeah, and then say, all right, can you make me one overnight? It's like, are you insane? I can't make something like this overnight. It's going to take weeks. Not only that, but I've got other customers, and you don't look like you've got enough money to make this work.
Right.
Or the resources. Where am I going to find the good steel? Where am I going to find the good jewels? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so coming across this sort of, a vorpal sword or a sword of slaying or whatever, these things are really legacy type weapons that aren't just going to be laying around.
Yeah.
That not every place is going to have, even if it's a big city of the size of Paris in the medieval times. You know, you're talking 20, 30, 40,000, 100,000 people. It's still not going to very likely have things like this. Now, let's take it to a smaller size of that. Let's look at potions, like a potion of healing. Okay, so your temples may have potions of healing or other minor potions because they're going to use them for, maybe helping people that come in that need curing. Well, here's a potion, but are they going to want to get rid of them? Are they going to be your standard, 50 gold pieces or 75 gold pieces or 100 gold pieces or whatever for that potion?
I mean, would they even want to part with them? If in fact they have potions of healing that they use to heal, would they even want to sell them to you? Because, or give them to you, or sell them to you, that sort of thing, because they're useful here in this area. We don't want to give them to you. You're just a traveler. You're going on, whatever. It's what it is it's, whether or not someone's willing to part with something that is very useful to them. You may seem to think that you want it in the game, but the DM can play it out where, there's a wizard over there who makes potions, or an alchemist who makes potions, but they're not going to sell those potions to you. Those potions are for the king.
Yeah, and they may not have them stockpiled of having, well, I've got 4 potions of water breathing, and I've got 3 potions of flying. Maybe they might have 1 or 2 if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Are they going to have a stockpile of these things on hand to sell you?
Right. I've always felt that players, because when you page through the handbooks, there's the list of magic items in the back, and everybody wants one of those magic items to enhance their play. But I've always felt that for players to want something like that all the time, it's almost like it puts you in conflict with the DM, because the DM's like, wait, no. I mean, in this little village, there's no way for you to get something like that. You just can't. And then it causes friction, because then people are like, well, come on. This is a fantasy game, I want to kill some orcs and stuff. I can't kill them without my +2 sword. It's like, well, I mean, that's try to find a way.
Yeah, and you kind of have to look at it in real world practicality. Let's take a wedding dress for a woman. Okay, a woman doesn't just go into a wedding shop and buy a dress and have it automatically fit. Usually it takes time. They have to order it, they have to get it altered to get the fit. Same with a suit. A guy wants a fine suit. He goes into a suit maker. They measure him up. It takes them a little bit of time to make that suit.
I mean, it could be anything like that. If anything is worth having, that's a legacy item. You can have the off-the-rack stuff, sure. You can go into a weapons dealer and you can have, I got a bunch of these orc swords over here, 1 gold a piece, and you look at them, they look like old busted-up machetes, and you're like, well, man, I don't know about this. But in the glass case behind his counter, he's got a really fine knight's sword for 100 gold, that you might be able to buy if you've got 100 gold at 2 level, level 2, you're a level 2 fighter, whatever. So the thing is, availability, practicality, whether or not the blacksmith in the village would be able to make something like that, or would be able to come up with the materials to make something like that, is a real question.
And then you have somebody who has to enchant those things.
Yeah,
or
that's
make
another
them magical.
thing.
So you're going to have the person around to do that. Because your blacksmith, chances are, he's not a wizard to do all this. Now, maybe he is. Maybe he's been a wizard and he's retired, and now that's all he does is sits back in his forge and pounds out magical swords and throws them in a pit, this one,
I'm sure in most medieval villages, in fantasy villages, there's a retired wizard blacksmith who's pounding out magical swords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the belief in my games, when the characters find a magical item, there's been times where it has a little bit of lore behind it.
Yeah.
There was one in the winter campaign that Frostwolf got.
That's right.
That was a magic. It was a legacy weapon. The thing is, the weapon got more powerful as he raised the levels. Is it kind of attuned to him, and he got better with it, but it would also allow him to heal himself.
I remember
if he did specific things.
That was Hilari, his sword.
Yeah, Hilari.
And
which meant healer.
It meant healer in the local language. And the thing about Hilari, which was really awesome, because I played Frostwolf for a bit. The great thing about Hilari is you could store healing up into it, and then release it when you struck a mighty blow. So if you had already been wounded by a creature, and then you turned and you struck a mighty blow against that creature. You took a certain number of hit points from that creature with one hit. It would transfer the healing to you, and you would heal.
Basically almost like vampiric. It would take it off them and heal you.
Yeah, take it off them and heal you. So you would suddenly feel healed up, and your advantage over that damage was great. And that was the great thing about that sword. But we're talking about a magic sword that essentially was centuries old.
Yeah.
I mean, it had been passed down from knights, paladins, champions, all through the, and the thing is legacy weapons like that, and they get passed down because they're so hard to build. They have such advantages. You don't just end up buying them from your local 7-Eleven. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and he was so proud of that sword. It was like, wow, look at my sword.
It's beautiful. And in regular fiction, there's tons of stuff like that. There's Steen from the Lord of the Rings books. There's Anduril, another one. There's Excalibur. There's weapons like this. And sometimes there Stormbringer. There's another good one.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's magic items too. Like magic cloaks or that sort of thing that can help you.
So like in the Harry Potter, there was the invisibility cloak.
Right.
That they had.
I seem to remember in the Gene Wolfe books about the torturer that they had a cloak that was blackest black, and that you could cover yourself in and it would hide you in the darkness.
Yeah.
It was something like that. It was made out of the blackest black material. Another example of something that's a legacy item. So it's really up to the DM to decide whether or not these things are common, or whether or not you can buy them, or whether or not they can be created.
Yeah.
I could just tell you right now from experience, and we've been playing for a few years. Delaney's been playing a lot longer than I have.
45 plus years.
But this kind of stuff, availability of magic items, magic weapons, has always been a source of friction in the games.
Yeah, people just wanting a magic shop to appear in the middle of town and have it there. Well, can I go buy this, this, and this? And it's like, no, it's not just this overly common thing that you can go buy willy-nilly. It takes time. You might find there might be somebody in town who can make it, but then it takes time to make it.
Right. And the thing about adventures, most people don't have a lot of time. You've got to go out and chase the orc chieftain now before they raise any more villages, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to go out and do it now. You can't wait around for 2 weeks for the blacksmith, the dwarven smith, to finally enchant your sword to a +1 sword or something like that. It has to be done within a time limit. And Delaney's always been really practical and really realistic about this, but I've played with other DMs who hand out magic stuff like candy.
It kind of fits into our episode Laws of Supply and Demand for gaming.
Yeah.
That's how I take an approach to my games. Now, I'm not saying that that's an approach that everybody should have. It's totally up to you, but this is my approach, and I kind of like it as a real world feeling. Now, we have players who love it. We have players who hate that.
Yeah, we do.
They think that they should just be able to walk into the city and find any magic item that they want.
Go to any temple of whatever, and whatever god or goddess, meet up with the temple priests, and walk out of there with a +3 bow. Or some kind of a bag of holding.
Yeah.
Or some kind of special boots.
A scroll of resurrection.
Yeah. Okay, because those priests just have those things laying around.
Yeah.
Now, and we've also run into stuff where we've come into possession of magic items, and we want to get rid of them. We want to sell them. Well, do you go to the priests of the temple to sell this, special headband? Well, yeah, I mean, they would love to have something like that, but they don't have 10,000 gold laying around. I mean, you got to be a little realistic about this with money exchanges in your fantasy world. If you have a ultra high fantasy world where gold and diamonds just run down the street like raindrops, fine. But most fantasy realms are a little tougher on transactions and monetary transactions like that, and it's harder to get hold of magic things because they're very expensive.
Let's not to mention, if you start going around bargaining for things like this, you're going to put a target on your head for the local thieves guild, who might want to steal it and sell it to somebody else cheaper.
Right.
Or use it for their own games.
And here's another thing that we don't talk about much, but actually if you have a big bag of gold, it's huge and heavy. It's clinky, it's heavy, you're walking around like this, you're a target. It's awkward to carry something like that. You're a target. They want.
But that's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole nother episode.
So anyway, we'd like to hear your thoughts on magic shops and magic items in your world. This is how I do it. Like I said, I like to take kind of a more real world, more practical approach to things. I don't just throw things out there willy-nilly. Even when the party gets stuff, they might find a lot of more common items like +1 rings. Well, I've already got that. That's junk. I want a +2 or a +3 ring,
right.
Or I want a +3 cloak. So they end up to just throwing that stuff, or when they sell it, they may not get as much for it.
Sell it for pennies because really they've got so much of it.
Yeah. So we'd like to hear your thoughts on it. So anyway, thanks for watching this episode of Wizards of the Tower.
Roleplay.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, spread the word, ring the bell, leave a message on Discord, or email us. If you leave a comment, we will always reply back. And anyway, spread the word. We're Slowly Gaming followers, so we appreciate it. Appreciate all you. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, folks.